As ICAN, we've learned as a training company to meet the needs of our clients, and we've learned through numerous surveys that in South Africa, debt collection agents have very specific excuses that I have difficulty with. So we've compiled a course, and there are 10 modules. In those modules, there are topics that deal specifically with remedies that consumers have or debtors have in South Africa, and the rest are just the contributions by collection agents saying we're struggling with these things. So we've created the top 10 that we believe, and in this module today we're going to indeed deal with one of the popular ones, and we hope that you learn something out of it and you gain some knowledge, and most importantly you apply it. My name is Craig Nell, and I'm reaching out from a company called ICAN. This is our favorite quotation at ICAN. Without knowledge, action is useless, and knowledge without action is futile. This is critical for you as a viewer to understand that the methods that we teach through our programs have been tried and tested. So it's important that you use it in your daily meetings. If you're a supervisor, practice these techniques. And therefore we also provide you with specific tips that you can apply. So yes, please, we encourage you to just apply these techniques, and otherwise it's just a fun video. We hope you've had fun listening anyway, so please apply them. Debtors and or consumers in South Africa know their rights. Prescription is one of those that if you do not understand how it works as an agent, it can cause some challenges for you in those calls with these debtors. So they often in the call would cite it as a reason for not paying, and therefore we say make sure that you understand how the process works. And in some instances, if you are an external debt collector, lenders might even outsource specifically so that you as an agent can interrupt the prescription procedure. So let us talk through the learning outcomes. So number one, understanding what prescription is, how it can be interrupted, how it can be delayed, most importantly, how you can deal with a debtor that raises this excuse for not paying. What is prescription? So it's basically a legal process that enables a debtor to extinguish their debt for a particular period in time. In South Africa, debt becomes extinguished after 3 years from the due date, and this is according to this Prescription Act. After this period, creditors cannot take any action against debtors on that debt. So therefore it's very important, and obviously it makes sense now why people would raise this as an excuse for not paying. Prescription can be delayed if the debtors are minor, insane, or is undergoing curatorship located outside of Africa. If the debtor and creditor are married to each other, the debtor and creditor are partners, and the debt arose as a result of that partnership, or if the debt is subject to a dispute in an arbitration, etc. However, the restriction will end after or within 1 year before the normal prescription period ends. If this occurs, an additional year will be added after the date on which the restriction stopped. Prescription can be interrupted in various ways. An acknowledgement of debt by the debtor, for example, if the debtor pays part of the debt to the creditor, or summons the creditor serves to the debtor. And in the collection space, it's quite important, and therefore often these accounts are handed over because they promise to pay made on the telephone, a partial payment as we mentioned earlier on. So these are important activities, and this is where your role is critical as an agent, especially if you're working in those campaigns, to understand the impact that you have. So on this slide you can see there's various periods, 3 years, 6 years, 3 years. Standard would be the 3 years in the space that you operate. So it's important to understand the periods that you're involved, and so in other words, if no activity has taken place, or the debtor has not paid anything in that period of time, there's a chance that debt may prescribe. So it's very, very important that lenders and collection agents do whatever it takes to interrupt prescription. It is important that you as an agent are prepared. As we said, in South Africa, credit providers or lenders and debt collectors are working aggressively to interrupt prescription, because they lose out significantly. So that is important then, that to understand that when they do hand over the account to you, it will more likely be that it's to interrupt prescription than to hand over a prescribed account to you, because then that will be problematic for them. So always remember, it's debtors have over time gained some experience, so they will come with all the tricks. So just be mindful, and part of being a smart collector is asking questions, and hopefully some of the tips will assist you in that regard. So yeah, I think the tips are self-explanatory. The key thing always to understand, every time you're engaging with a debtor on the phone or via email or social media, and when they make that promise to pay, that activity actually interrupts a prescription, when they acknowledge that they have the debt. So often you would hear in some contact centers, debtors would ask, collectors would ask, do you acknowledge that you owe this money? And that's the interruption activity then. So it's important. So while you're engaging with a debtor that raised this as an excuse, a tip that we'd give you is get them to acknowledge it. And as I say, do you acknowledge that you owe this money to company A or to ourselves? And that will be sufficient to interrupt prescription, assuming that these calls are recorded. Alright, that's it. Short and sweet. This is the video on prescription. Feel free to ask any questions now or engage with us via all the contact details that will be available shortly. And it has been a pleasure to engage with you on this very important subject. Have a great day, and like or subscribe to our channel. My name is Craig Nell.